Quill main page here where I'm logged in?
Yes. So everybody say yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Great. I'm really appreciating the enthusiasm of this crowd today. So thank you all. So we are going to get started right away. So just give me a yes or a loud no based on the questions I'm about to ask. Has everyone in the room set up their teacher accounts?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Has everyone in the room created at least one class?
Yes.
Is anyone in the room using Google Classroom to upload their class?
Yes.
Yes?
Sure.
Beautiful. Is anyone not using Google Classroom?
No.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear. Good. That's going to make everything a lot simpler for us. And then just another question, because I don't actually know about this. Have you guys started school?
Yes.
Where do you live?
Wait,
Awesome. When was your first?
You ain't from around here.
Gosh, she can hear me.
But I do have that Southern accent occasionally. I'm from Virginia, so
Yes, exactly.
I'm with
I knew you were from last
yeah, in New York here, we've got some charter schools that start early, but the rest of our schools just started today. So we are in the swing of it as of right now. Okay, so here we are. We're on Quill. I'm actually going to start out here. This is our newest dashboard. So some of the features you're seeing here, you will not see on your own account. The reason I wanted to share this with you is because hopefully later on during the time today, we'll have a chance to look at lessons mode, which is our brand spanking new tool that we're real excited about. So I just want you to see that when you are looking in Quill, you'll soon see Quill lessons as one of the options here. As you can see right now, it's in beta, so it's not quite ready to go, but it will be in the next week or so. Okay, so let's take a chance to look at Quill tools. We are going to make an activity pack ourselves. So everyone with me right now, you're going to click on Assign Activities, which is this guy right here. Once we go to Assign Activities, we are going to first assign the diagnostic, okay? So if I look over here, I'm looking for the entry diagnostic. Now we have two options when it comes to the diagnostic. Who in the room has English language learning students?
Everybody. Yeah, we all do.
Marguerite, I think you got that one.
Right. So for English language learner students, for students with special needs, for any student who you're worried is more than 2 years below grade level, we recommend the L diagnostic. And the reason for this is this takes students back to some really fundamental grammar skills that will help them to be successful once we get into the more complex activities. Okay, so you're going to pick either the sentence structure diagnostic or the L. You can also assign one to one group of students and one to another. If I click on the L diagnostic, right, I can continue to assign the diagnostic. Here's my class. If I select my student, you can see I have all my students here. I could assign it to just 3 of the students, okay? So say I'm gonna do that. I'm saving and assigning that L diagnostic. Okay, it's gonna tell me I've done it successfully. Yay, we're very excited. And then there's some information you can share with your colleagues. So, you have a friend in Virginia or California and you can just say, hey, look at this cool tool I'm using. I'm so cool. So in the assigned activity packs, this is going to be the first thing that you want your students to do. And the reason is, and I'm gonna show you some data right now. I'm accessing our demo account, which all of you can access as well. I'll share that link with you after this call. So this is a Quill demo account where you can see the data. I'm under student reports. I click on diagnostics. And what I can see are the results from my diagnostic. On the student page, I can see overall how my students are looking based on the first assignment. I can see who's doing poor, or who's struggling, and then who's doing really well. I can look by question. So say I've had my whole class do this. I immediately know I need to go over these ing sentences with my students because very few of them could identify that as a fragment. I also know that with these more simple ideas, right? So Yasser plays soccer and basketball, students were able to do that effectively. Okay, so this is sort of the first overview. Now here is the piece de resistance, as they say, our recommendations, okay? So if we are looking at our recommendations, you can see everything in blue is what Quill recommends that your student work on based on their data. Now those recommendations, the packs will look different for the L diagnostic. This is the sentence structure diagnostic. But a pack is basically a group of activities. So for example, here, I'm opening up the activity pack. It'll tell you a little bit about what the students will be asked to do and then show you a list of the activities they will be working on. So if I look across the board here at how I've done my assignments, you can see that every green check is something that I've assigned to my students. So when I first saw this diagnostic data, I decided to assign some things. These with the check that I can check or uncheck, those are ones that were recommended. See, they're in blue here, but I did not assign them to my students. I wasn't ready for us to work on it. I didn't want to overwhelm them with activities, XYZ. I don't have to assign it just because the computer tells me to. Over here, you can also see that none of my students were told that they needed to work on the adjectives pack, but I really want that to be something we can talk about as a class, so I have assigned it across the board. So I could also say, I want these two students to work on adverbs of manner, I want all students to work on this, et cetera, right? I want one of these students to move forward, but I don't want the other two as to. All I have to do from here is click on Assign Activity Pack, and it's going to push those activities out to the students right away, okay? So what we've seen so far is what to do based on the diagnostic data, and hopefully, give me a yes if you have assigned the diagnostic to at least one group of students. Yes?
That's what, so we were waiting actually until we did this training. Everyone's going to be setting up linking it to their Google Classroom or giving them the code after this training.
Perfect. So what I would say then, and this is why I had everyone create a master class, is when you are first assigning something, so say, as we will in a minute, you create an activity pack. What is great to do is assign it to your master class so it exists in my activities, right? You can see here are my activity packs. And then I can go in and edit classes and students and assign it to any additional classes. That makes it easy because then anything that you would like to assign exists under my activities because you've assigned it somewhere before, rather than having to go back and forth and refine things once you found them the first time. Does that make sense?
Okay, so they should go in right now and assign the activity pack to their master class.
Yeah, assign the diagnostic.
The diagnostic, okay.
Do we have to have students in that master class in order to assign something?
You do not.
Did you just,
Okay.
okay.
Awesome.
And just to be sure, you said the ELL diagnostic is one that should be used for ELL students and any other special populations you would suggest?
Yes, any other students who are more than 2 years below grade level or need special modifications.
Okay. Okay, so did everybody get that done with their master class?
Working on it.
Okay.
Now that I've added it, I think that's what we're going over.
If you've already done that and you're waiting for the rest of the group to join you, you can go ahead and what I'm circling right now on the screen, click on Explore All Activities and see if you can figure out before I tell you how to navigate and find activities. And then when you're ready to move on, just say, move on.
Is everybody ready to move on?
Yes. Move on.
We all understand how to do it?
Don't want to preview.
All right, got it. We are good to go.
All right. So I'm clicking on Explore All Activities under Assign Activities, and here is where you find the master database of all the activities we have. You can search in a couple different ways. Now, here's the point when I tell you that Quill really values quality over quantity. So we have about 300 different exercises right now that have been personally vetted, created, et cetera, et cetera. We are a team of 8 people, so we work very deliberately and carefully to make sure that there's good feedback on each of these. Rather than trying to build out a whole bunch of stuff at once that only sort of works. So when you search for something, you might need to change around your search terms a little bit. What I recommend doing is using the filter by standard or filter by concept as a way to find what you want. So say I am working with 7th grade students. Here are a variety of things I can see here. Now say I want to look at a specific concept. These are the ones that are related to the 7th grade Common Core standards. I can focus on comma usage. So here's the activity I have related to comma usage, okay? I'm gonna walk through to the end of how you create a pack first, and then I will let you guys do the next stage. All right, so here I go. I found an assignment. I can click on that assignment and preview it. And I'm gonna give you a chance to preview some activities before I give you my spiel on them. So I want to assign them this, and then say I want to also look at comma usage for other grades. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say use commas in quotations is one, commas with yes or no, and then Janet sends a letter looks interesting. And you can see that those selected activities all exist at the bottom of my page. Okay, I've got all the activities I want. I'm going to press the continue button. I'm going to name the pack, comma usage part 1. And I'm going to assign it probably to my master class, but I can also assign it to other classes, right? And once again, if I have students in, I can assign by individual student. Now on my way out, I'm able to add due dates. Whatever the nearest due date is the first assignment that will pop up for students. Otherwise, they will pop up in the order in which you assign them. So if you would like, say, for them to work on this week and then the following one on Monday or over the weekend, you can put those in. Now, we often get questions about, well, will students be locked out after the due date? And the answer is no, and Quill will never do that. The reasoning behind that is because we want to make sure that students get in the habit of going back again and again until they reach proficiency. So we will not lock students out of assignments. So what we recommend is just looking at the data on the day of on the due date, or being comfortable with the fact that students may improve their writing over time, and whatever the most recent version is the best example of their work. So here I am, I put in some due dates. I'm gonna go ahead and assign. Now assign comma usage to one of my classes, okay? So what I'd like you to do now is you are gonna take a minute to play around in our assign activities area. I want you to note one more thing before I let you move on without me. Not only can you filter by concept or by standard, but we have 4 different types of activities. You've already assigned the diagnostic. You don't have to look for that. Quill Connect focuses on combining sentences, right? So you'll have joining sentences. You'll have different ways for students to put ideas together. Quill Grammar focuses on mechanics, right? So this is things like so and because. It can also be commonly confused words and those things. Quill Proofreader was the passage you saw me pull up a minute ago, and that's got a place where students actually go into the passage and edit it themselves to correct any errors. So what I'd like you to do right now is take about 5 or 6 minutes to create your own activity pack and play around with 1 or 2 of these activities. As you're doing that, you can ask me questions. You can let me know what you're seeing. But I am also going to pull up activities in front of the screen and play through them a little bit so that that'll be on the video for later on. Okay, so go ahead and get started. And then if you have questions, let me know. I'll start talking again in 6 minutes.
Okay. And Becca, just a quick question. Has everyone's account been upgraded to the premium account?
If they are associated with the school, if they have connected their account to the school, then it should be upgraded. If for some reason it is not, let me know and I can have my colleague do that for you all right away.
Okay.
But the way you know if your account's been updated, just real quick here, is if you go to student reports
Mhm.
and you see these areas that say list overview concepts and common core standards, you are in good shape. Right
Okay.
here, if you can click on those, you're in good shape.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, obviously it's Common Core, but Common Core takes
They're not that.
pretty similar, yes. But you know, obviously how you like to look at whether you maybe look through those activity packs, make one by search for it by concept, and search for some by standard and see which one you prefer.
okay. I put these things in one giant activity. So this automatically assigns.
The first thing is the diagnostic.
Okay. So how do I assign my class? See what activities.
If they're all, the ones that are signed in,
Brittany, I just realized
the ones that are signed in Google Classroom, those are the ones that are now.
No, I think it's
Because if you pull up.
See, it says only 34 students.
Yeah.
So that means I still have, which is about right.
I started one that she gives that.
I have 8 that are not in. So.
And I'm about to lose my patience with that one.
Mine should be right on
I
my
didn't
desk.
send out a list of them, no, but we sent out what it would look like.
What it
It's
would
the
look like.
first- Yeah,
Okay, that's right. So I gotta know the kids.
and I can already tell you on your times they're half graded, it's those first three of that first last name.
Okay.
That is absolutely that. Oh, yeah.
So right now, they're, what are they
And
working on?
all of them know them, it's in the computer lab because they use the same exact login to get into the network.
So then if.
So all they have to do is put the
So
CISD
those
grades
kids-
and
those
dot org.
kids probably have theirs by now then, since they've been doing prepositions.
Yes, anybody who doesn't work, that's the problem. We have to find out.
And
You haven't told me, did she tell you that somebody's working?
Well, no, because the problem is, theirs are all working fine, because that's on the Windows network. And so on Windows, they all work fine. It's the ones on Google that I'm having trouble with. So, but yours should be able to get in. The ones that can't get in, those are the ones that we need to know. Because I ran into a 5th grader today that's brand new, hers isn't working, her login, her password's not working.
Yeah, cause, so I have 34 students, so if I wanna edit students, that's,
Yes,
I wonder if that's where I'm gonna be able,
and see, that's where it shows you which kids are in.
like, I know that Nathan Junior kid is not in 5th grade. That Toy Story.
Oh, because that's the class code for that class.
Yeah. That kid didn't even know his birthday.
Back 2 more minutes and we'll come back together.
I'm like, dude,
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're writing all day. Our homework is pretty much sometimes writing. That's just a quick write. That is a bit, I just thought about that. Hey, Becca, if they share students, like our 4th grade and our 7th grade, they actually share students. What would be the best way for the students to use it in both classes?
So what I would recommend is having one teacher be the master account, and then you know how we've set you up with an administrator account? What we can do is give other teachers access to that account so they can log in as those teachers, as a co-teacher, or as the teacher that has those students, and access the assignments from there. That way the kids aren't getting any repeat assignments and you can get one course.
Probably our writing teacher would have the master account, and then we'll do that at a later time.
Yeah, and you and I can set that up. If you just give me a list of folks who you want to have admin access, I can get that set up within 24 hours.
Okay.
Well, what it'll be is they won't all be working on it at the same time. It'll be a set.
All right, so we're gonna come back together.
5 kids at a time.
All right, guys, so we're going to come back together.
3/4.
So it'll be between me, you, and Chris, because we're the only ones that try.
So my question is, who got to try a Quill Connect activity? That was anyone with the target next to it.
So this.
Okay, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, who got to try a Quill Connect activity, which is any one of the activities with a target next to it? Anyone?
Do it now. They're doing it now. They were going through creating the activity packs.
Okay. So we haven't tried any activities. We've just added by name.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So what I'm gonna do.
It was the happening at the zoo.
The happening at the, was it one of the ones with the target?
I don't know, I went to 7th grade. No, it
Yeah,
was-
so at the zoo one, I believe, is a proofreader passage. And then what I can do here is I can click on proofreader and then I can click on zoo. I'm going to search for zoo and there it is. So here's this passage, right? Now the great thing about these passages is that you can make the edits to anywhere on the page, right? So you can see that I can take out things as I go. I can add in commas. I can change the punctuation. I can add a random apostrophe, et cetera, et cetera. Now notice at the top here, it's telling me each time I make an edit, right? So I'm gonna just do a couple more random edits here so that we can see what happened. And then I can check my work. So it says I haven't found any of the errors, but then it's gonna walk me through what's going on, right? So I will see places where I made a change that wasn't needed. I will see a place where I made a change that was incorrect. And if I had made any correct ones, they would be highlighted in green. Now notice here that Quill really is pushing students to actually read things and not just click through. So it gives information and requires that they look at each thing. For the proofreading passages, one of the things that I also love is after they finish, it's going to assign them follow-up exercises to practice the skills that they struggled with in the proofreader. Questions about the proofreader?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so what I like most about the proofreader is in the classrooms that I've worked in, I have actually used this with teachers as the way that we start out a proofreading lesson for their students' own writing. So that's pretty great. Basically, it means that before students start doing their own proofreading, they proofread and then get feedback from Quill on how well they did. And it really helps them to pay more close attention when they're looking at their classmates or their own writing. The next one I'm going to look at is the Quill Connect. And that does not have any zoo activities there. So I'm going to pick one that I like. We're going to do compound subjects. Now, you'll notice that the instructions for these activities are always very simple. They're not super exciting to look at, so kids who are used to waiting for like exciting bells and whistles might not see what they want to see. You do have to work on training them to read those instructions to themselves. But you'll also notice that our lessons are very simple and use virtually no jargon and mainly examples. The reason for this is because a lot of the research shows that when you focus on, kids knowing what a gerund is, they can define it for you, but they can't actually apply it. So we really want to focus on using examples. Okay, so here specifically, we're focusing on what to do when we have two subjects. So in this sentence, we have lions live in Africa and giraffes live in Africa. Right, so if I am being a student who's just trying to get through the assignment, I'm writing lions live in Africa and giraffes live in Africa. All right, just putting them together and moving on. Quill's not going to let me do this, right? They're going to ask me to make my sentence shorter and more concise. All right, so let me see if I can do lions, giraffes live in Africa. Okay, I might have left a word out. So now I'm going to try to add a word in. Let's see what happens. Notice now I had miscapitalized Africa the entire way through, but it first focused on the skill of the two subjects, and now it's asking me to proofread my work for mistakes that I've made. Now I have a sentence, and it's a strong sentence. Go me. This is actually my favorite page in every part of Quill, is at the end of any time that students are doing sentence combining, they will be given options of different correct answers. As long as they've gotten an answer correct, I get to see what other answers people gave. Now, some of the best discussions I've heard in classrooms have revolved around these different options, because at the end of the day, the purpose behind teaching students how to connect different ideas in different sentences is that it allows them to understand that they have a choice in their writing. So you can see every kid from like a 2nd grader to a 10th grader go 10 rounds over which one of these sentences sounds the best to them. And it's great because they know that all of these are potential right answers. Okay, so when we're talking about Quill Connect, this is what's really great about the tool. Questions about Quill Connect?
Is Quill Connect the only one that has that page at the end of it?
Quill Connect has these different choices. For Quill Grammar, most of the sentences are actually, there's kind of only one option, or they're asking them to use a specific word so that they can practice using that word. So in the case that there is more than one correct answer in Quill Grammar, you should still see those options. Now, this is a chance that I get to tell folks a little bit about how Quill works. So basically what we are doing and what our team does here is they train algorithms to recognize different correct sentences and different mistakes. And that's what allows us to give specific feedback based on what the student types in. What that means is I like to call us, we're like a well-trained puppy, right? Our algorithm is like a well-trained puppy. So most of the time the puppy does what it's supposed to do. Occasionally there's a rule that a puppy hasn't learned yet. When that happens, I like to tell students that they have outsmarted Quill. So if you're sitting with a student and they find a sentence and they say, Miss Garrison, this sentence is wrong, right? Or my sentence is right and Quill is wrong, they're telling me that it's wrong. If you look over their shoulder and they are correct, their sentence is right and Quill has not recognized it as such, what I ask that you have them do is take a screenshot of what's on their screen and then email it to me directly. And then what we can do is have the student show, like, I outsmarted your algorithm, please add this to your algorithm, right? And that can be a really great way for students to contribute. So I think I mentioned we're an 8-person team. We rely a lot on the knowledge of our schools and the experience of our students to be able to make Quill the best possible thing. And it's pretty cool for students to know that by choosing a entirely new sentence, they were able to update the results that 400,000 students see when they access Quill. So that's Quill Connect. We won't go into Quill Grammar right now because it's very similar to Quill Connect, with the difference being that the skills are a little simpler and sometimes students are simply adding or changing one word rather than changing an entire sentence. So notice that I can select whichever activities that I want. So I can select as many as I want to assign within a certain pack. There are also featured activity packs that we have assembled based on the highest impact skills, right? We know that these have the best effect on student writing, and so we've assembled them in this way. Questions before I talk about content?
No, I think we're good.
Great. So one of the things that Quill's doing is we work a lot with different, researchers like Steve Graham are the ones who've talked a lot about sentence combining. And in that research, they find that grammar does not exist in a vacuum. So for example, if you're on a different grammar website or one of the places where your kids are doing multiple choice, you might find a lot of sentences like Michael Jordan walked his dog. Now, that's great for Michael Jordan, but that isn't relevant to the students in terms of the content, right? Like, it's very exciting. I saw the name of someone I know. It's funny. But at the end of the day, that skill is less transferable than something that's related to content. So what we've been doing is building out these content-based activity packs where they are all related to one certain type of study, right? So for example, in the American Revolution pack, all of the content also provides knowledge around the American Revolution. So when students are connecting ideas, they are connecting ideas, they're figuring out the relationship between things that have happened in an actual situation, right? So for example here, representatives in parliament speak for the people, representatives help make laws. We're learning about what the parliament does, right? So now I have the opportunity to combine these two sentences. Representatives in parliament speak for the people by helping to make laws, something along those lines. So whenever you're working with students on Quill, even sort of our grammar packs or things like that, you'll notice that there's a lot of content available. So there's science information, there's social studies information. And what's really great about that is you have the opportunity then to say to your students, not only what grammar skill, what writing skill did you practice today, but also you can say to them, what new things did you learn? What new knowledge did you gain while working on Quill? And that can be a great way for students to see that they really need to think about the relevance of their writing and not just the grammar related to it. Questions about our content?
No.
Great. Okay, so you have seen the 4 major Quill tools. I'm going to move into student reports so you have a chance to see those in an account that has some student data. So the first and my favorite is this visual overview. And I really like this visual overview because I think it's super simple as a teacher to look at it and sort of figure out what's going on with the student. So if I look at Charles, just from a glance, anything in yellow means they're between about 60 and 80%. So they're getting close to proficiency, which we consider 80% or above, but they're not quite there yet. Anything in red is below 60%. So this is an area where I imagine a student's actually going to need some intervention because they maybe didn't understand it on their own. Anything in gray is a pack that I've assigned, but that the student has not yet completed. Now, if I hover over this, I can get more information. If I click on it, I can actually get information on the sentence level. So you can actually see the answers to the question that Charles Dickens gave so that I can figure out exactly how to intervene with a student. I don't recommend you click on every single assignment for every single student, but if you know a student is having an issue and you want to diagnose that issue, this is a great way to do that. So that's our visual overview. The other thing to note about the visual overview is the way you're seeing the colors on these squares is what students will see in their dashboard. So every time I complete an assignment in my dashboard, I will be able to see the color of that assignment next to it. Now, because these assignments stay open for students, I can go back as many times as I need to get a green, a proficient level on any one of these. So one of the things I've seen teachers do that's really effective is to have days in class where they say you're working on a new assignment, and then days in class where they say either if you finish early or let's start out right now by going back and retrying something that we are not quite proficient in yet. So that's the visual overview. I think that's probably the place where most folks spend a lot of time. The activity analysis allows you to go into a specific assignment. This is really helpful if maybe you had students do an exercise to preview it. It's something you're going to be looking for in their writing, and you want to see how the students who did that lesson did in particular. So overall, we can see how the students did, and then we can also see a question breakdown of which questions they struggled with and where they excelled. Now I'm going to show you my favorite report. You guys use Common Core Standards, right?
Yep, we use the
Sorry?
Sorry.
One more time.
TEKS.
Okay,
It's the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills.
great. So now I think some of that is pretty well aligned with Common Core. Otherwise, you can use our Concepts tab.
Okay.
And here you can see the number of questions students have completed. This is the main page here. This is just basically sentences they've written, how many correct and their percentage. And when I click on a student, I can actually see the skill by skill breakdown. So for example, every time this student has gotten 5 questions that focus on adjectives, they've gotten 3 of those correct and 2 incorrect. So I know overall they're at about a 60% for that skill. Right? So as I scroll through here, this is actually a great report that you can share with students. The great thing about this is the students can look through and see which areas they need to go back and focus on so that they can practice, they can improve their learning. Eventually, my goal is that our student dashboard will have that information available to them. For now, this is only available on the teacher side, which I think is probably not a bad idea, that at very least at first you are walking through this information with students rather than allowing them to do that thing where they go in, they look at their data and decide they don't know anything. So, questions about reports. Is there anything else that you want to see or you want to know if we have?
Is there anything else with the reports that you want to see? So she showed you the visual overview about the activities or the diagnostics. So this is the diagnostics page that you could print out and share with students so they know how they're doing this, because this is what you're going to be using as part of your progress monitoring that you'll talk about in PLCs. Any questions, or we feel good with all of those?
And it's also what the departments will look at that we turn in basically for progress.
It'll be more of the discussion that leads. So if you're looking at intervention on a certain topic, say that your students really did not get prepositional phrases, this is a way to see which students need remediation on that and which could move to a new concept. Okay. Especially for our 4th and 7th grade writing teachers, that those are going to be the SDs that you're really focusing on to remediate.
All right. So the things we've gone over so far, we have gone over the different Quill tools. We've gone over the reporting. We've reviewed how to assign activities. And it sounds like you guys have already got how to upload your classes down. This is your main page that you'll see when you first log in. There's some great information that shows up. I can show I can see which students are struggling, and I can see which concepts have had the most struggle related to them. So that's a great place for me to go if I'm just trying to do like a quick check for today. Who should I target? Here are my students who are going to need the most help from me overall. So those are the different pieces overall in terms of Quill Connect and the different tools that you're looking at. Now, as I mentioned before, we do have teacher lessons coming out, or we have Quill lessons coming out. The name can be a little misleading. It's part mini lesson and part guided practice. And the idea is this is our collaborative group tool that you can use when you want to do less data, less right or wrong and more open-ended practice for students. So let me see if I can pull up a lesson for you. Okay. So I'm under my activities. I'm clicking on lessons. This will not be a tab that's available to you quite yet. It should be available within 2 weeks. And if I want to look at a lesson here, I can go into the lesson. Now, what I will do once I've assigned this lesson to my students is it will pop up for them and they will join my class. You can see over here that I have one student in my class, and that student will be able to work with me through the assignment. Over the course of the assignment, you will see that there are places where students can actually write in their answers. And when students have written in their answers, I can get a little more detail. Let me just show you one that has some data in it. So this is one we've been using as our beta tester, which is why we have approximately, I think it's like 90 students in this class right now. This is one of the more advanced ones where what will pop up for the students is what I'm clicking on over here. So for example, this is a slide that students will be able to read on their computer screen and scroll through. The next slide here, you can see this is an opportunity for the teacher to model. Whatever I do in my model is going to show up on the student screen, right? So when I can reset the slide so that it shows the original sentences, I can write a model, or if I would like to change the prompt, I can change the prompt from here. In the next slide, you can see that students have answered this question. When students answer the questions, I can do a few things. Say a student did a really not so great of a job, I can flag them. Okay, that means that's a student that maybe needs a little more conversation. If I have a student that's written something sassy and I would like them to go back and try it again, I can press my retry question button, and you'll notice they're removed from my list. They have to go back now, and they have to work on this again and resubmit it to me. The next thing I can do for my lesson mode is I can select answers to display. So if you see over here, and I'll actually open up this for view that would be in a projector. So you can see over here, this is what the students will see are these 3 answers that I selected to share with them, right? Now the students can have it, you can have a whole class discussion about this. The students can edit that, they can talk about it. And in the lesson itself, we try to encourage you to ask certain questions. Notice that because our algorithms don't quite read all open-ended sentences, we try to use this as an opportunity for you to look at open-ended sentences from your students as well. There's a little bit of logic involved. We ask students to consider the where and the how of different things based on the reading that they've done. Now here's my favorite page in this. When I get to the review, students are reading aloud the objective. They're talking about what they've learned. I have now flagged students that I want to meet with. So say through the course of the lesson, there were about 4 students that figured it out that I don't feel I need to talk to anymore, but that I can see maybe there were 2 students that I actually wanted to add to my list of students to work with. So I can press the checks next to their name and they're on my list. The bottom of this page, where'd it go? You might be confused. It's not showing up right now. At the bottom of this page, what you will be able to see is the option of sending off most of the students, the unflagged students, to do some independent practice while holding on to those flagged students so you can have conversations with them. Okay. So overall, Quill Connect is really focused on the idea of having students talk through their choices they're making in their writing, and you get to work through that with them. One of the most effective ways I've seen this used in beta testing is when a teacher does it in a small group. So say I'm working in station rotations, I've got one group of students working independently on exercises, I've got another group of students maybe doing some writing on their essays, and then I've got a group that's working with me, and I'm going through a lesson with 6 students so we can discuss their answers. Okay. Questions about lessons mode?
Can you make it happen now?
Sorry?
I said, can you make it happen now?
1 week is what we're looking at right now. So unless we discover in our beta testing over the next week that there's something horrifyingly wrong, which doesn't seem to be the case, we beta tested in the office today, then we will be able to release it within 1 week. So you guys will be able to see that and use that. If you don't see it within a week, send me an email and I'll do what I can to at least update you on when that's coming out.
And
Okay.
on the homepage, where would that show up again, just so they can let me know if they're not seeing it within the week?
Let me just go back to my master account here. Here we go. If I'm on my main page here, where I click on classes, overview, I can see Quill lessons right here. If I want to assign a lesson under assign activities, I should see the Quill lessons right below here. And then remember that we're doing these releases slowly, so there will not be a million options right off the bat. There will be more like, I think we're at about 30 that are going to come out initially, okay? So those lessons will also exist for you. Now, the great thing about being a Quill Premium school is that I get to designate time to you directly. So what I actually like for my Quill Premium users to do is start out by composing an email. My email address is becca@quill.org. I'm going to write it here and make it big so you can see it. And since we are running up against the end of our time, I'm going to make that nice and big. And you can go ahead and write me an email. In that email, write the subject is your school. And then your name, right? You just write, hi, I'm so-and-so. You can tell me what you teach. And then if you have any questions, If you have any feedback on this presentation, if you have any feedback on things that you wish you could see on Quill, those are all things that I would love to hear from you. And I really, really appreciate it if you keep me updated throughout the course of the year, which is part of why I have you email me now, is so that if something's not working, you can let me know. Another thing is when you're using our grammar content, that's some of our oldest content, and in building new things, we haven't always gotten to vet each assignment at this point. So if you notice a glitch, if it's not recognizing something, if it's not moving forward, and really this is in any case where Quill's not working the way you think it should, if you just take a picture of it and you can text it to my cell phone, and I can update grammar lessons within 20 minutes. So we really, really appreciate that. Once again, as a small organization, we rely a lot on our community to be able to support us with this, looking through and contributing. And anything that you tell us, we get to push out to our now 400,000 students and, however many additional teachers right away. So we really do appreciate it. If you text me these things, it makes me really excited when I get to fix them. So we got about 4 minutes left. If there are any other questions, I can answer those questions.
And I'm sorry, what did you want them to put in the subject? If they're emailing you, just put community ISD.
Yes. That's all you need in the subject is just community ISD.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Becca? I know she's made herself available if you need it, but any concerns?
And the right to ask more later.
Yeah, they said they have the right to reserve to ask more later.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I imagine there will be plenty of questions that come up. And then the other thing is, we really enjoy talking to students. So if your students want to talk directly to our developers, if they want to talk directly to me about what content is available, if they have a comment, lots of students have a lot of comments and things that they want to know, you're also welcome to, in a supervised fashion, have them share those questions and comments with me as well.
Okay, and do you have one of our Dean of Instruction in here?
Hi.
A question about, she's the one that the administrator view so that they can kind of just see the usage.
Okay.
Is that something, do you want me to just email you their specific names and then you could kind of maybe go through, give them an information, something like that? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, so I think the best choice in that would be if you want to just set up 20 minutes for us to go over the administrator dashboard, and then anyone who you're putting on that dashboard, you can include in that call.
Okay, that sounds good. I will put that down. And is that something that you and I could have it, if they can't make it, then we could record it the same way?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So can I email you and to ask you to add me to that, or you're?
I'll just email you and send you all of their names. Is that okay?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay.
The only one tip I'll give you is because we might not be able to, I'll update the admin very quickly, and if we don't get to do the call right away, the only thing I'll remind you is that from the admin account, if you are looking at student data, you have logged into a teacher's account. So be very, very careful to make sure you aren't making changes to someone's account when you're in there unless you've had a discussion with them about it.
Yeah. We'll make sure they know that.
Yeah. So just, beware. And then the nice thing is that in the admin account, whoever's account you're in, the name appears at the top. So always check the name before you make changes.
Good to know. All right.
Great.
Anyone else have questions? No? Well, thank you. I'm going to turn it back to me. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we'll let you know. I'm sure you will get emails.
Great. Well, and email early and often. Remember, occasionally something will get buried in the inbox. So it doesn't hurt my feelings if you send me a reminder. So
Okay.
Keep on me and share your feedback, and we're excited to hear from you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.